Now, hear exclusive performances from the top rising stars in rock, R&B, hip-hop, and more. Tap into Who's Next, the Next Wave Concert Series Volume 7, now in the all-new Sirius XM app. Just search Next Wave.
Get the Sirius XM app and listen on your phone when you get out of the car. Anywhere you take your phone, you can take Howard Stern, NFL Radio, and commercial-free music channels from nearly every genre. Channels vary by subscription plan. You never have to miss your favorite Sirius XM programs or commercial-free music. Find the Sirius XM app in the App Store or call 844-711-8800 or visit SiriusXM.com/app to find out more.
Sirius XM. Be part of the buzzworthy moments with Andy Cohen.
Kelly Clarkson, I do want to do a duet with you.
No nonsense advice with Dr. Laura.
Is this advice that he asked you for? No. Then shut the hell up.
Unparalleled wit and A-list interviews with Conan O'Brien.
Billie Eilish.
How loud can you shout?
You haven't even heard it.
That's why I'm asking.
Don't miss an exclusive moment on Sirius XM.
On Sirius XM, with the first pick, NFL Radio will be in Detroit as Rick Neuheisel, Jason Horowitz, Jim Miller, and Pat Kerwin provide instant analysis.
He makes all the throws. You will be defending the whole field.
As well as exclusive interviews with coaches, executives, and players.
I want to be the best quarterback. Legends live on. I want to be a legend.
Listen to every round of the NFL Draft starting Thursday night at 7 Eastern on NFL Radio Channel 88 and the all-new Sirius XM app.
There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, let's see. There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, let's see.
If you've been thinking about buying a home, you need to be in the zone, the home buying zone. You need a game plan to win in this great real estate market. The Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage has all your bases covered. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing your dream home, refinancing, consolidating debt, or even considering a reverse mortgage, contact the Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage today. They have the lowest closing costs and they'll close your loan on time, guaranteed, or they'll pay your first mortgage payment. And they even have a 3.5% purchase down payment grant that can get you into a home with little money out of your pocket. It doesn't get more clutch than that, folks. Score big on the biggest purchase of your life. Call Equity Zone Mortgage today at 1-800-772-8624. That's 1-800-772-8624. Or apply online at equityzonemortgage.com and tell them Big C sent you as heard on the Big C Sports Podcast. License number 0181486.
Rondo Deportes, Bonjour, Vidi Vidi Vici. Let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to me and people who love the universe, and that would include you. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be my neighbor? Shut up! It's 3 o'clock in the morning. As I say, I'm trying to bring the neighborhood together, but some people just don't appreciate it when it's 3 o'clock in the morning, but I always do my thing, if that makes sense to you. Today is a beautiful April the 22nd, 2024. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them sit ya where the good Lord split you. And hopefully he didn't split you too light. If he split you too white, you need a closer stance. I was thinking of a friend of mine was telling me about the trial going on in New York City with POTUS 45. And he was talking about the guy fell asleep. He fell asleep at the court case, and there's some other things he told me that I won't get into. But it made me laugh. You want to laugh? You can laugh when I tell my jokes. I'm going to tell you, you can follow Big C Sports. I always produce the show. I direct the topics. I broadcast all the shows. I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We could all use more laughter in our lives. I know I can. And then the commercials are done. The stats are provided. The storyteller's done. I even do the play-by-play. Jason Tatum for 3! Yes! The good old boys at Boston doing their thing tonight. Cleveland's going to try to get their groove, as well as the good old boys from New York City, the Knicks. And then the Lakers, if the Lakers go down 2-0 at Denver, it may be another sweep, even though Magic Johnson said, don't worry about the sweep. Don't worry about the sweep. But if the Lakers go down 2-0 tonight, you can believe that they will get swept by the Denver Nuggets. They got to get LeBron James and Anthony Davis back in the saddle, if that makes sense to you. They can't do it on their own. But the good old boys from Denver, they have younger legs. And I've learned on my own, younger legs can sometimes run faster than older legs. Now, if ego could help us win, then all old guys will win. But once you get over 40, you're not gonna beat those young legs. That makes sense to you. So we'll see what LeBron James and Anthony Davis can do tonight against the Joker and Murray, those good old boys from Denver. Denver's looking really good. Also, I'll touch on what happened with the NBA playoffs over the weekend, if that makes sense to you. But then I'm telling you, the show's uploaded to 29 podcast platforms out of New York City, and then on 4 TV platforms streaming: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. Really do appreciate that. As I always tell you, mine is a terrible thing to waste. I've never missed a show with Big C Sports Podcast since back in the day, starting at Salem Media back in 2016. Never missed a show with Big C Sports Podcast. But it was 2015 started the show, going on 8 years now. But what I love doing is I never want to forget. That's why I write it down. If it's not written down, I'll probably forget it. I've learned that the easy way. But the Veterans Crisis Hotline, they really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. You know anybody going through issues, pick up the phone, call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net, and they really do help people. And you can give them some praise, because we all need somebody to lean on. I really do appreciate that. Now, speaking of leaning on, I saw an article, I don't know if it's real or not, but it said that Dubai is having some flooding issues. Flooding issues? How can they have flooding issues, Big C? They built Dubai on water. Yeah, if you want to build your house, you don't want to build it on sand. And if you don't want to build it on sand, you definitely don't want to build it on water, if that makes sense. Some people think they can outsmart Mother Nature. Hopefully they can fix that problem called the plunger. The plunger or the plumber? It's going to take a lot of plumbers to get all that water out of the roads in Dubai, based on what I saw on those internets, all sparing love and war. I do want to tell you what I love about Big C Sports Podcast is I'm going to talk about some NBA basketball, even may touch a little bit on the NFL football draft. I know that's coming up. And then there's a runner, a guy that runs track and field, and he ran the 100-meter dash like lightning. That good boy ran like a 9.63 or 9.93. I got to make sure I check it out. I remember one time when I was running track too, I ran a 9.93, and I was pumping my chest and feeling really good about myself. And my coach said, "Curry, what are you doing?" I said, "I just ran a 9.3. He said, you still got 50 meters to go, Big C. I said, "Oh." So, when I ran, we had the 40-yard dash and the 40-meter dash. And sometimes, if you don't know your numbers, then you might pull up. Some guys run the 200-meter dash, others run the 100-meter. If you're running the 200-meter dash, you can't pull up at the 100 meters and say, "Man, I just set a world record." You got to know which race you're in. And I learned that the hard way also when I was celebrating after 50 meters. He said, "You still got 50 meters to go, Curry." But sometimes, it's a Monday. It's a beautiful Monday, and I'm so grateful. I want to approach this day with gratitude, because gratitude is something that I really do appreciate. But as I always say, I believe that I'm the only sports show in the universe that champions reparations on every show that I do, because no matter how fast you run the 100-meter dash, you run a lot faster if you get reparations in your pocket, if that makes sense to you. And now I want to say I'm working on this commercial, and I do my commercial live. Unlike some people, when you do a commercial, they go into a studio, they do 29 takes, and after 29 takes, they pick the one that they're most happy with. But what I do with Big C Sports Podcast, I try to do mine all up front. That means if I make a mistake, you know. If I don't make a mistake, you also know. So I try to do it the way I always do it, which is live. And I want you to go along with me. Before I get into the California Reparations Task Force, because the mind is a terrible thing to waste, I want you to see if you can follow along with me. a lot of kids, when they do their ABCs, they go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Now I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with me? You know how much pressure it is to sing your ABCs? Don't laugh. Try to do it in front of a live audience. You may just miss a few letters. I hope I didn't miss any letters. But I mean, if I did miss a letter, I want to tell you I'm sorry, because I put pressure on myself trying to do my ABCs, and you never know if you don't know them all. And for those of you who think you don't know your ABCs, well, try doing it without singing it. If you sing it, you can get it. Sometimes, if you do it without singing, you might miss your ABC. You might miss a letter or two. Try it right now if you don't believe me. That's why, if you're going to do something, if you sing it, it tends to resonate better. That's what I want to say to you. A guide to protect, preserve, and transfer wealth. The RDC team, along with Big C, in conjunction with the law office of Scott Thibodeau and the law office of George Jones, attorneys. The Missing Link Long-Term Care Solutions by the book. Over 3 decades of experience helping seniors get their benefits, Medicare and You, Taking Care of Tomorrow, and Medi-Cal, other places around the country. It may be called Medicaid. I want to say, my commercial, your family and spouse can avoid the spend down for nursing home costs. Find out your options. I promise to you, specialize to navigate and maximize long-term care benefits, protection of your assets without a spend down. All paperwork and communication with all government agencies are handled by our staff of entitlement specialists, ongoing consulting to provide updates as necessary, benefits covering skilled nursing facilities, prescriptions, medical equipment costs, and more. Do you know anyone that's ever dealt with a skilled nursing facilities? Do you know anyone that's ever dealt with medical prescriptions? Maybe even you. You know anyone that's ever dealt with medical equipment costs and more, protection of your assets, including your home, thereby allowing you to leave a legacy for your family, avoiding the nightmare of debt brought by the government's estate recovery program, can be between 10 and 40%. A one-time processing fee versus monthly insurance premiums for the rest of your life. Give that some praise. Give that praise. But not only that, asset protection. Insurance coverage required by law, general liability, workers' compensation, lawyers specializing in living trust, Medicaid or Medi-Cal planning for long-term care, avoid probate, life insurance, veterans benefits, aid and attendance pre-planning, and avoid the look-back period, fixed assets, bank account, checking account, savings account, money market account, certificates of deposit, life insurance with cash values, fixed index annuities. How about variable accounts, real estate, qualified money, IRA, 401k, other investments, avoid capital gains. Think about this, you buy a house at $100,000 and next year it appreciates to $1 million. According to some real estate brokers, they tell you do it now. Do it now! That's a $900,000 capital gains. With a trust, you can avoid the capital gains over 3 decades of experience. Attention business owners, find out your other options to protect what your insurance does not cover. How we do that, Big C? 800-772-8624. 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. When you do, you want to give us some praise. Isn't that important? I did it, and I did not miss a beat. Yeah, Big C, you didn't miss a beat, but why would we want to work with you, Big C? I'm glad you asked. Whenever someone asks you to do work with them, as I oftentimes get referrals for real estate and insurance, you want to know who referred them. Well, we have the endorsements of some top people that make it easier to deal with the RDC team and the Big C team. Number one, I'm co-chair of the National Black Wall Street Project. Over 50 states, I endorse the RDC team. And not only that, we have the endorsement of Mr. George Jones, Esquire, the chairman of the California Black Chamber of Commerce, also the California Black Chamber of Commerce Foundation, Mr. Leon Woods, resource development consultant, works with the top lobbyists in California. Also, Miss Cheryl Brown, she's the chair of the California Commission on Aging. We have Mr. Ray De La Cruz, he's the CEO of Resource Development Consulting, has the endorsement of the late attorney Robert Carlson, who was the chief legal counsel for CalPERS in California. Also, Mr. Alex De La Cruz, who is the founder of American Veterans Benefits, along with the Big C team. You want to give that some praise. I say give it praise. That's important because everybody says they want you to do business with them. And sometimes they don't tell you who endorsed them in order to do business with you. And that's why I love doing Big C Sports Podcast. I want to say give that some praise. I also want to make sure that I pay homage to the California Reparations Task Force. Why you want to pay homage, Big C? I just told you. Because a mind is a trouble thing to waste. And I don't want to waste my mind. At the same time, I do want to take the time to say, if you've been paying attention, California, they've talked about reparations for about 3 years now. I've been talking about it for a lot longer than that, but the task force created, and I want to just praise the members of the California Reparations Task Force because it's important. I want to give praise to Kimberly Moore. She's the chairwoman. Really do appreciate her. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Emmett C. Brown. He's the vice chair. Really do appreciate him. He was actually on the Big C Sports podcast. Also want to give praise to California Senator Stephen Bradford. I want to give praise to him as part of the California Reparations Task Force. I want to give praise to Councilmember Monica Montgomery Steppe. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Assembly Member Reginald Jones Sawyer. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Shell Grooves. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to her attorney, Lisa Holder. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Javon Scott Lewis. He is a professor at California Berkeley. I love giving him praise. And I want to give praise to her attorney, Donald K. Tamaki, part of the California Reparations Task Force. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I also had played a clip that ABC News 7 out of San Francisco played this month in April, and it had California, the Rob Bonta, the attorneys general. It also had Shirley Weber, the Secretary of the State. It had Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, along with some other dignitaries. And that's why I love giving them all praise. Give them all praise, 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 no matter what you think. I love saying things that are factual. And before I get into that, I also want to thank Double O, part of the PAC Committee for the National Black Wall Street Project. Since State Executive Order 13985, that was on further advancing economic opportunities for communities of color by the President Biden administration. He talked about it this first term in office, and I appreciate her sending me that. She also has her own economic awareness talk show called Let's Eat. Really do appreciate her. She also sent me something from the United Nations and said that strong leadership and strong political will are crucial in order to have reparatory justice. And I really do appreciate her. I really do say, if you're going to get involved in reparations, at least have some facts. I love giving this before I give you sports, because if we get our black community to have as much passion for reparations as we have for a touchdown, home run, 3-point play, old man Willie, he's going all the way, then I think it will happen. And that's why with Big C Sports Podcast, you either lead, you either follow, or get out of the way. I'm a leader, and I want to lead by showing you what I need. All we need is God's favor. But I want to take the time to have you listen to something that's not just me. It's about attorneys talking about why we need reparations, the same way we need to know who won the game. I know in the city, light the beam, light the beam. They can't light the beam anymore. You know why they can't light the beam? Because the season's over for the Kings. I said it's over for the Kings. But if the same thing that's not over is the California Reparations Task Force, it's not that far from Golden One Center. You would think they would get involved and start celebrating with the California Reparations Task Force. And then that beam, if they light that beam, look at all the people that benefit. Because reparations will stimulate the American economy. Starting in California, it's sweeping all over the country. So don't think, oh, Big C, you keep talking about reparations, I want to light the beam. Well, you can't light the beam because the beam got turned off. They got turned off by New Orleans Pelicans. A pelican can survive a beam. If the Pelicans can beat the beam, maybe the beam could join the real team. You could join the Big C team. As we chat for reparations now, reparations forever. I'm going to let you hear something that you can't say is more everlasting than lighting the beam. And once you hear it, you can't say you didn't hear it. And that's for reparations. And when you hear some great people talking about it, no longer can you say, oh, Big C, that happened a long time ago. I want you to make up your mind and open your mind and listen, and you tell me what you think. Attorney Ava Martin is a civil rights attorney and discusses reparations. Listen to her, and listen to her loud and clear.
Is one way to recognize the harm that was done. And it's very interesting when you look at the Jesuit universities, 27 of them, and the work that they've done in this area. They've gone through this very, very exhaustive process to investigate their relationship to slavery. I mean, so much so that they hired genealogists to trace and to find the actual descendants of enslaved people. So, I mean, you have to think about how expansive and, intense and comprehensive this research was. But then you have to also ask yourself, how come these institutions, with all of their resources, never ever utilized an economist, a statistician, a labor, expert to tell us the value of the wages and the wealth that they accumulated? It just looks like this big gaping hole. So I think the question should be reframed. How come the universities aren't sharing with the families the value of the labor and the value of the wealth that they've accumulated? So people are always asking descendants or survivors, why do you want money? And I think the question should be the opposite. How come you're not coming to us with money? When you think about the 9/11 victims or any victims of a disaster in this country, there's never ever a question about should we compensate them. That is a part of our civil, legal, judicial system. You have a harm, somebody else causes it, you are entitled to compensation. It's never ever challenged except in those examples where Black folks are involved. So I think we have to change the narrative around this question, and rather than, and not suggesting you're doing this, but oftentimes families or individuals who are seeking compensation are put on the defensive as if they've done something wrong. No fault of our own. We did nothing wrong. And if you worked for me, I'm an entrepreneur, business owner, if you worked for me and I never paid you, you would have recourse. You would be able to go to a labor board. You'd be able to go into our courts and demand your labor be compensated. You'd be able to get penalties against me for not compensating you. You'd be able to get interest on those wages that I didn't pay you. So again, this isn't like new to capitalism. This is how our country is built. This is how we operate today. You work, I pay. Let's be clear. So our request in terms of compensation restitution is not the total amount that was calculated. We calculated that amount because we felt like it needed to be a part of the conversation. It's on the table. We're not asking them for $74 billion. We're asking them to consider the value of that slave labor in the same way they are considering other aspects of their relationship with enslaved people. What we hope to get out of it is, first, that descendants are literally put back on this committee, that this is no longer a university exclusive committee, that the descendants are there at the table, that they commit to a timeline. Loyola University in Maryland went through this process and wrapped their work up in 2 years. So you can Google them and see what they've done in 2 years. We're into year 5, and we've not even sat down and talked about a plan. So we also hope that there's a commitment to wrap this work up in some foreseeable future, 6 months, 12 months, that it not just go on indefinitely. And then we are asking that the plan that is developed includes not only some of the things that we see in this work, monuments, things that give attribution to those who helped build this university, curriculum changes, projects that help the community. One thing we realized, so many people in St. Louis is a small city, 300,000 people. I live in Los Angeles now. There are 12 million people where I live. So few people had even heard of this work. So another part of what we're hoping that comes out of this is some resources spent educating people about this work, because people in that very community don't know. And then, of course, some kind of financial restitution for the labor, for the wages that have been uncompensated for this period of time.
Now, that's Ava Martin, a civil rights attorney, talking about reparations on Big C Sports Podcast. You know what you can't hear right now? You can't hear Stand Up for the Tip-Off for the Golden State Warriors. You can't hear Light the Beam for the Sacramento Kings. And Sacramento Kings are just a few blocks away from the state capitol in Sacramento. And then Golden State Warriors, they're about 100 miles away. And while their basketball seasons are over, you would think that they would join with the governor of California and the Secretary of State of California, Shirley Weber, the governor, Gavin Newsom, Attorney General Rob Bonta, some of the top senators, and Senator Bradford, and Amos Brown, and Camila Moore, and Dr. Shirley Weber, and talking about things that affect all people. If you don't make an NBA or NFL or baseball team, we can't deny that not one owner of an NBA team or a Major League Baseball team or an NFL football team, not one of them come from descendants of chattel slavery. That's a clue. But many of them, they do come from descendants of the Homestead Act, where the United States Congress gave over 300 million acres of land away to white people. But you have to be white. They even gave it to white Europeans. I think Congress just passed a $95 billion fund for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. But they're asking for the black vote. President Biden could sign the executive order. I just got a text today from Al Gore, former President Al Gore, and Joe Biden and Donald Trump asking for money for their campaigns. But at the same time, when people say, oh, we can't give money to African Americans descendants of child slavery, they just passed a $95 billion package for Israel, also the Ukraine, and Taiwan. Nothing about descendants of child slavery. Oh, we don't have the money to do that! But those other countries, they're not going to vote for the next election. But they're going to ask for the black vote. I want you to hear something that's not cynical, and only Big C Sports will tell you about it. And you Golden State Warriors players, it's amazing in Sacramento, they're talking about maybe we should look into getting a new coach. Mike Brown, an African-American coach, in his first year got the Kings to, I think, the number 3 seed in the Western Conference in the playoffs. They lost in a 7-game series to the Warriors. And not only that, got them back to the play-in game this year. And they hadn't been to the playoffs in 16 years. 16! And there's some mainstream white media saying maybe we need a new coach. What? In 16 years, they haven't been to the playoffs? And when he came on, they said, light the beam! Light the beam! They've had the most exciting basketball in the state capitol in the last 17, 18 years. And now they're saying, well, maybe we need a new coach. Is that crazy? Put your thoughts on reparations. All you black fans going to these games and then do nothing but sucking money out of your wallet. And even asking the taxpayers to foot the bill for some of these stadiums and arenas. They should at least pay homage and respect to the California Reparations Task Force. Before I get into sports, I want you to hear this. It's so important.
California is moving to consider reparations for slavery.
We'll just start here by signing this.
A California Reparations Task Force is making history with a major decision on who will receive compensation.
The descendants of slaves are standing in the shoes of their ancestors in fighting to complete this sacred political project.
What do we want? Reparations! When?
My great-grandfather was a sharecropper who had 17 children and worked from sunup to sundown and died with absolutely nothing. I would hope that he would be proud and know that I stand on his shoulders, and there are no better shoulders to stand on.
After hours of testimony and debate, the group has voted 5-4 that reparations should be paid to descendants of black slaves who were living in the United States during the 19th century.
It's not just a study anymore. We are history in the making right here, right now.
This is groundbreaking work that they've done in the nation that has oftentimes denied its responsibility for slavery and the impact of slavery on the lives of others.
You know, it's so important that I bring that to you. Also, Brother Aleem Shabazz, he owner of Crescent Sports Media, he actually filmed the Reparations Task Force last year at the Secretary of State building, so I love giving him praise on that. And there's more and more coming out about reparations. I'm going to let you hear just a few more things. You're going to hear from attorneys, Ben Crump, who also talks about reparations and how it's the right thing to do. There's no one that can argue that it's not the right thing to do in California, and that's so important.
Reparations is alive as a discussion now. It's not going to end now. It's going to keep going until reparations is a reality. Folks may or may not be ready, but we're here now.
I think our mantra has to be, this time it has to be different. This time it must be different.
California has at least stated that it is different. And I think I'm calling on Californians to remember their difference in that way and to do something.
Reparations is not charity. It's not a handout. It's not a gift. It is what was promised. It's what is owed. And it's something that is 160 years overdue to African Americans who built this country.
This was ours and it was taken. You gave my great-grandmother and grandmother and grandfather pennies on the dollar, and this is what you want to do, continue that narrative? It's time for repayment.
They very much seem invested in this work, and some of them even saying, cut the check. What is your response to those folks?
The reparations is more than just a check. The amount of positivity that's going to come out from the non-monetary things will outweigh the check.
What happens to the bills these legislators propose remains to be seen, but both men, serving their last terms in office, are ready to continue this centuries-long struggle for reparations and repair.
As a descendant of one of the Little Rock Nine, the 9 kids that integrated Central High School in 1957, 9 historic kids who battled racism to get into high school. And they had to send out the National Guard, one of the first airborne, to escort them to school every day. They were threatened, beaten, crosses burned in their family homes, and they stood up to that. It was their sacrifice that got us here. The California Legislative Black Caucus knows that we now need to do that same type of sacrifice and commitment, not only for African Americans in California, but nationally and internationally, because all eyes are on us right now.
Now, think about this for you professional athletes that have a lot of clout. When you talk, people listen. You're making commercials, TV commercials, radio commercials. You're selling cars. You're selling food, selling jerseys. And for the African American athletes, it's, to me, how could you not understand the history that you come from, and even our decent white brethren who were never enslaved in the United States? But if you're African American, how do you not come together and stand up for reparations the way the whole country stood up to end apartheid in South Africa? I'm talking to our beautiful, intelligent black men and women. We want to stand up and light the beam. We want to stand up and cheer our beautiful, big, tall black athletes. But where are they when it stands up to recognizing with these governors and these legislators that are trying to get for us what our ancestors were robbed of? Think about that again. We talk about how much we love our ancestry, love grandparents, great-grandparents, great-grandma, great-grandpa. All of those beautiful, intelligent black people that had to live through Jim Crow, separate and unequal. The government sanctioned segregation. And now you may have made your tens of millions of dollars. And you don't even have the balls to stand with your congressmen and your senators and the Secretary of the State of California, but you want to watch LeBron James score points in a basketball game, or Steph Curry score points in a basketball game, or De'Aaron Fox score points in a basketball game, or Kawhi Leonard score points in a basketball game. We want to cheer that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But why are you guys not standing up for our ancestry? I'm telling you, none of these NBA, NFL, or Major League Baseball teams, not one of those owners come from descendants of chattel slavery. Magic Johnson is just a minority owner of the Washington Commanders. And so is Michael Jordan, a minority owner of Charlotte's NBA team. And these are rich, well-known men. Even if you're afraid to say something because someone told you to shut up, at least support the people like Secretary of State Shirley Weber, the California Senator Stephen Bradford, the California Governor Gavin Newsom, and pretty soon President Biden's going to stop dropping that silent whistle that he has. But the black vote put him in office, he and Kamala Harris, And they're going to start, instead of asking me to send you $20, why don't you at least talk about reparations on a national stand? Because the people that have been opposing you, they're not going to vote for you anyway. Decent white people will earn your vote. You say you want for the soul of our country. Let people know that you have their back. That's my opinion, Big C Sports.
We have much more work to do, but this apology most certainly is an important step and one of the over 100 recommendations made by the African American Reparations and Advisory Committee. Thank you.
This resolution is approved, same house, same call. The resolution is adopted unanimously.
When I see the way that this is spreading, when I see that a spark has been lit, and that people, when you talk to them about this repairing the harm framework, you see the fire. And that tells me that we will prevail.
Let's be clear about what reparations means.
A growing number of states, counties, even cities have set up groups to study the lingering effects of slavery and anti-black racism. The creation of these groups is not guaranteed support for reparations, however.
And to those who think that even having this conversation is unfair or wrong, I say it would be wrong not to have it.
Though there has been some momentum in recent years. In 2020, California was the first state to create a task force to study the harms of the state's anti-black policies and develop a plan to make those affected and their descendants whole. In 2021, Evanston, Illinois became the first city in the country in modern history to pay out some form of reparations, $25,000 to eligible black residents for home repairs. 16 lucky residents received the money out of more than 100 applicants. Funds were raised in part by a cannabis tax. In 2022, the city and county of San Francisco became the first major U.S. city to study the effects of anti-black racism and released an extensive plan to repair those harms. 3 other counties, Alameda in the San Francisco Bay Area, Fulton County, Georgia, and Shelby County, Tennessee, have developed task forces. Nearly a dozen cities from Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Detroit, St. Paul, Minnesota, Boston, and Providence have done the same. New York is poised to become the second state to form a task force to study and develop reparations.
You have tonight, the New York Knicks are playing an NBA basketball playoff game. And you have New York Governor Kathy Hochul, who is talking about reparations, and she's a white woman. Do you think any of the New York Knicks NBA basketball black players will talk about reparations? So we could talk about racism and the ills of racism, but in New York State, the New York Knicks are playing an NBA basketball playoff game tonight. At the same time, it is the New York governor, she's a white lady, Kathy Hochul. She's talking about reparations. Why can't we get our beautiful, intelligent black men to talk about reparations when a white lady will?
Martin Luther King, we had a conversation a couple days ago about handouts and how these right-wing memes, these Republican memes, have infiltrated the Democratic debate to suggest that, you know, ending welfare as we know it, you know, all those kind of things are somehow, you know, great and noble things, when we're not dealing with the underlying problem, which is that there's no economic opportunity there because of insane trade policies and because of Reaganomics. And Martin Luther King spoke to this. Jim and Shane, this is clip number 4. Martin Luther King spoke to this sometime back in the early 60s. And I thought this was a really interesting quote. Here he is.
The problem. At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today, many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with, and this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
From his speech, The Two Nations of Black America, and it's absolutely brilliant. And the next time some white person talks about, well, I pulled myself up by my bootstraps and my family did too, especially the Bundy boys. I mean, you know, here's Martin Luther King, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. talking about how basically whites stole the West from the Indians with the and didn't just steal it. I mean, murdered them he murdered the Indians in the process, and did not give any of these benefits to African Americans for 100 years in this country. You know, it's a strong case for reparations or some variation on it, for rebuilding our cities, for doing right after having done wrong for so many centuries. It is a very, very strong case for that.
It's right. I just want to say that's important to talk about. Now, if Governor Hochul can talk about reparations as a white woman, where are our strong, beautiful, intelligent black men to talk about it? You can't say you're afraid. At least, if you're not going to stand up for your ancestry and for yourself, at least support what some decent white people are doing. You can't say, oh, it's about black folks asking for something. You got white governor in California, Gavin Newsom, and a white governor in New York State, Kathy Hochul, standing up for the descendants of African Americans, descendants of chattel slavery. And we can barely get some of our own people to do it. We got everyone that I've talked to on the Reparations Task Force, they spoke about what happened in the past and how to fix it. As I just said, we just signed a $95 billion package for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. No talk of reparations. Well, that's my story. I'm sticking with it. As you stand up for the tip-off, you have NBA basketball coming to you. The biggest winners and losers from the 2024 NBA playoffs opening weekend. And we got some games tonight as well. The Lakers, can they get over the hump on the Denver Nuggets? If they get beat tonight, then it's over for them. I mean, that's just my opinion. I'm sticking with it. They got to find a way to win that game. But no matter what I think, you got to think about what happened over the weekend. I think some of the worst offense in this regular season belongs to the Memphis Grizzlies, who scored 107 points per 100 possessions. That's the worst half-court offense, which belongs to the Portland Trailblazers at 88.9 points. But when you think about on Saturday, in their first playoff game since 2020, the Orlando Magic can only muster 62.7 points per 100 half-court possessions. They shot 8 of 37 from 3. They managed just 36 points in the paint, well shy of their regular season average of 51.8%. And that's a playoff team. You would think they would spend more time championing for reparations. In terms of doing out some of the credit on the court, the Cleveland Cavaliers, big men Jared Allen and Evan Mobley deserve plenty after getting bullied by the New York Knicks in last year's first round. Both were active, mobile, and took up plenty of space on the defensive end. But Cleveland, this is for you. They all got solid defensive effort from Isaac Okoro and Max Strauss and Donovan Mitchell. Now, if the Magic don't have a couple of players hitting jump shots in Game 2, it could be lights out for the Orlando Magic. I want to also look at some other great players. You look at some of the winners in the playoffs. Anthony Edwards, that good old boy. Kevin Durant is one of the greatest individual scorers of all time. And then Devin Booker has been one of the league's best one-on-one scorers for nearly a decade now. And the great Bradley Beal, he averaged over 30 points recently in the 2020 and 21 season. But on Saturday's game one between the Phoenix Suns and the Minnesota Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards outshining all of them. The 22-year-old, think about how you felt when you were 22 years old. He dropped 33 points, 14 for 24 shooting. That good boy was doing his thing. Grabbed 9 rebounds. He handed out 6 assists and got 2 steals after a big bucket that put the team up 16 points late in the third quarter. Anthony seemed fully aware of the gravity of the moment. That good a boy, he was rising and shining and doing his thing on the NBA hardwood. In this, his opportunity to be a legend and embarrass a proud franchise that spent the last 18 months getting easier, the entire roster unloading most of its future picks to assemble an ultra-expensive super team. And if Game 1 was any indication, Everett is ready to rise and shine to the occasion, all fair and level. Philadelphia, the rebounding of the great Joel Embiid. Perhaps the scariest moment of the weekend came immediately after this most spectacular stop at the free throw line. The great Joel Embiid, he stepped through his defender and tossed the ball off the backboard and slammed the home to self-made alley-oop pass. But then he doubled over in pain and he grabbed his knee upon landing. The 30-year-old played in the second half, but he often looked tired and somewhere south of 100%, much like he did during the play-in game against the Miami Heat. And if the Philadelphia 76ers have a compromised version of Embiid, winning in interior battles could be tough. On Saturday, the New York City Knicks grabbed 55 rebounds to the 76ers 33, and the Knicks were really dominant on the offensive glass, grabbing 23 rebounds on that end and helping them take 10 more shots than Philadelphia. New York was active with its bodies in the front court with the great Mitchell Robinson, Isaiah Hartenstein, but the real key might be how well their guards and their wings hit the glass. Josh Hart alone had 12 rebounds Saturday, and if the New York Knicks are going to keep winning in the trenches, they have a good shot to claim this series. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. But not only that, you got the defending NBA champion, Denver Nuggets, the great Nikola Jokic, called the Joker during Saturday's first game. When you think about what this good old boy has been able to do, the great Nikola Jokic, even the LA Lakers, their great James Worthy is saying that he reminds him a lot of Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. But that night he showed up at Ball Arena dressed as the lead man for the Denver Nuggets. When you think about how well he plays, almost a walking triple-double. The approach did not exactly scare many people on the Lakers. But you think about the Lakers and how you have LeBron James and Anthony Davis. If they can't beat this man, the great Nikola Jokic, tonight, a performance that may send the Lakers down 2-0, going back to Crypto.com Arena in Los Angeles, down 0-2, then it would be lights out for the Lakers. Despite the Lakers getting a lot of a hot start in the first half, always steady-handed, the Joker kept scoring inside, dominating the glass, and calmly dissecting the defense of the Lakers. He finished the game dropping 32 points. He was 15 of 23 shooting. He had 12 rebounds, 7 assists, and 2 steals as the defending NBA champion. Denver Nuggets have now won 9 straight regular postseason games against LeBron James and the LA Lakers. And to the extent when you think about how great may lightning strike up in Denver, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. But these fresh legs that the Denver Nuggets have, they're better than the older legs of the Los Angeles Lakers. That's just a fact. And the Lakers know it too. So the Lakers, no matter what Magic Johnson says, it wasn't LeBron James' fault or Anthony Davis' fault. I think when you look at what Mike Malone has built up in Denver, they won an NBA championship for a reason. If there's any doubt is left after last year's championship run performances like Saturday, when the Joker, he exercised his typical control over the game, that should go a long way toward convincing anybody that Denver's the real deal. And they look like the best team in the Western Conference, and maybe the defending NBA champion. I don't know if Boston can match up with the size of the big boys inside for Denver, but that's my story. I'm sticking with it. Thinking of Boston, picking the Miami Heat to win a series against the historically dominant Boston Celtics. Havlicek inbounds to Russell. Russell over to Larry Bird. Larry Bird throws over to Dennis Johnson. Dennis Johnson to Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum for 3. The lead Johnny Lowe. And this version of the Boston Celtics, they're legit. The dominant Boston Celtics probably would have been absurd. Anybody thinking that they could not win this series, especially that Jimmy Butler's out for the Miami Heat. When you think about this Boston Celtics team, this franchise, and all the talent that they have, you can't say it's by accident that they have the best record in the NBA this year. The Celtics have way too much firepower. In the regular season, they hit more threes than all of their opponents in 54 games, and they went 49-5 in those contests when they hit more threes. And Sunday, 114-94 win, they made 22 threes to the Heat's 12. 22-12 in threes, that's a big difference. And not only that, without the great Jimmy Butler available to put pressure on the rim, created good outside looks for the teammates and find them those looking. It's hard to imagine Miami beating Boston. It doesn't matter. Maybe they sneak a game, but I'm saying Boston wins this series and 4 games to 1. And now I want to swing you out to the West Coast. You got the great James Harden. For the moment, Kawhi Leonard was ruled out Sunday's Game 1 against the Dallas Mavericks, and Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. The LA Clippers, they felt like a long shot, to put it mildly. Dallas was a heavy favorite before the game, but they say you got to play the game. The great James Harden, he turned back the clock, dominated the first 2 quarters, and essentially put the game away before halftime. He's 34 years old. The over-under for points in the entire game was 18.5. He had 20 at the halftime break. And when the Clippers were up 26, Dallas mustered a couple of mighty runs. And at the same time, the second half never truly threatened to take the lead back. Harden finished the game with a team high on both points, 28. And assists, he had 8. He had a pull-up jumper. That's to be admired. You got to look at what James Harden's doing at 34 years old. That's still, what they say, Stella got a groove back. Well, Harden got his groove back as well. The Pacers, the golden opportunity. King Giannis Antetokounmpo was ruled out for Sunday's Game 1 against the Indiana Pacers shortly before tip-off, and the Pacers had an opportunity to steal a win, to put pressure on the Milwaukee Bucks, bringing Giannis Antetokounmpo back earlier than desired, and become a pretty heavy favorite to win this series. However, it became clear that Dollar Dame, he wasn't going, he was not falling for the banana in the tailpipe. The 8-time NBA All-Star, he dropped 35 points of his point total in the first half as Milwaukee raced out to a 27-point lead that was never truly threatened after halftime. But with every win, Milwaukee collects without King Giannis Antetokounmpo. It looks a lot easier for Milwaukee to advance to the next round. I'm telling you, that's a good team. At the same time, there's a lot of people that are saying in the Western Conference, the Oklahoma City Thunder, they were pressed to the max by the New Orleans Pelicans. New Orleans Pelicans, they gave the top seed Oklahoma City, what do you call them? The Oklahoma City Thunder. They gave them all they could handle Sunday night with just over 3 minutes left. The 8th seed took on the lead, and then Brandon Ingram had a bucket after a 2-minute stalemate. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, many people have him as the MVP, scored back-to-back buckets to reclaim control. It did not give up again, and one of those mistakes came against Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was a one-on-one, but he finished the night with just 7 free throw attempts, shy of his regular season average of 8.7. The Oklahoma City Thunder, they took control. They had 13, well short of the 21.5 they shot per game before the playoffs. The postseason is an entirely different ball game. And though it may take some time for OKC to get his groove back, like Stella got a groove back in the movie, they're young, they're powerful, and they believe that they can win. And if they have that attitude, I think the game that New Orleans could have gotten, if you don't have Zion Williamson, it's going to be tough to beat OKC. But the Pelicans played them tough. In that Game 1, I still think experience will catch up to OKC. Thunder! But that's my opinion, and everybody has an opinion. But I know if I can still get all these players to think about all the championship teams over the years, and they played as a team. Imagine these beautiful, intelligent black men to get together and support reparations now, reparations forever. Do it for your ancestry. Do it for your grandparents, your great-grandparents, especially the ones in Jim Crow. Do it for the lineage of slavery. Not one NBA owner, not one NFL owner, not one Major League Baseball owner can say that they're descendants of chattel slavery. But they all can say that somewhere down the line, they have ancestry that benefited from not only slavery, but the Homestead Act, where the United States government gave over 300 million acres of land. But they had to be white or white European. And that's a fact. Imagine if they could just stand up, as they stand up on the tip-off, and get behind the governors all over this country that are championing for reparations. Right around the White House. New York's not that far from Washington, D.C. New York City Governor Kathy Hochul, a white woman, she's championing for reparations. Where's President Joe Biden and Kamala Harris asking for donations? You may want to put your attention on what's happening with the Trump trial. But that's not going to do anything for black Americans in the descendants of chattel slavery. And reparations will stimulate the economy. It will stimulate the economy. Just like Congress just gave a $95 billion package to Israel, Ukraine, and Taiwan, that they won't vote for the next president. That's why you got to champion with the right people who are doing the right thing, when they champion reparations now, Reparations forever. That's my story, and I'm thinking with it. I know you want to know who won the game. I know we love watching NFL football. We love watching NBA basketball. We love it all. And I love it all too. But what I want to make sure is that we stand with the people who are not afraid. Don't be afraid. We stood up against apartheid. We can stand for reparations. If you don't believe in reparations, then tell your employer don't give you a paycheck. It's the right thing, and you know it's true. Everybody knows the right thing to do is the right thing. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I want to tell you, we got some NBA basketball tonight. No matter who you like in the NBA playoffs, I want to tell you, if these players don't stand up, if they don't stand up and feel that we can champion for reparations, the same way we champion for winning games, and we want to watch what POTUS 45 is doing on trial, and all the things being said about that, I just hope that we can do the right thing and help our governors who are championing for doing the right thing. It's not just Big C Sports Podcast. We got the NHL push for Lord Stanley's Cup, but they're not pushing for reparations either in the NHL. I expect the NBA to do it more, especially Orlando at Cleveland tonight, and LA Lakers at Denver tonight. I'm going to watch that game, especially the Lakers and Denver game. But you would think some of our young, beautiful, intelligent black men and white men too would champion for reparations. We have the WNBA, we just had that, and the draft, not one mention of reparations. And that league is dominated by black women. Not one mention of reparations. Why not? The whole world stood behind ending apartheid in South Africa. Decent people are decent people. But we can't expect governors to do what we won't do for ourselves. I just want to say, with Big C Sports Podcast, it's not anathema to say, let's do the right thing. And the right thing is to stand behind the governors that say, right now, what the song say, right here, right now. They said right here, right now. And what that good old boy say, tonight. I think that was Luke Campbell and Tupac Proof. That wasn't Luke Campbell. That was Rod Stewart, Big C. Okay, they still said that tonight's the night. You understand? But if they can say it, then we can say it too. That's my story. I'm thinking about it. I know there are people who want to put their head in the sand when it comes to defending black Americans, descendants of child of slavery, African Americans, but I'm not one of them. I don't have that gene. But when I do have genes, I wear my jeans and I wear them tight, if that makes sense to you. My 501 jeans. But you can have jeans too called 9-0 DNA and champion reparations now. Reparations forever. Well, that's my story and I'm sticking with it. I love saying it. And I love having governors that make me not feel like, Big C, you're going to sound like a fool. Talk about reparations. Well, now California's talking about it, as well as New York and other states around the country. To me, I love that. As I always tell you, that's my story. I'm thinking with it. If you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink, because mothers against drunk drivers are mad, and fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You can walk it off, you can sleep it off, but don't let someone you love get behind the wheel of the car, start driving after they've been drinking. The life you say may be your own. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, as my beautiful mother always says, there's never, ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that crap on their own. If you know anybody saying, I'm only hitting you because I'm mad at you, call 911. I only slapped you because I'm mad at you, call 911. I only choked you out because I'm mad at you, call 911. No man, woman, or child should ever have to deal with that crap. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. And as you know, back by popular demand, back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He's known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, you sting like a bee, rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Ali said, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat. And every time I listen to Big C Sports, I want to champion reparations now, reparations forever. And then I float like a butterfly, and I sting like a bee. I love paying homage to my beautiful family legacy. On my mother's side, my great-grandparents, my great-grandmother, my great-grandfather, my grandmother, my grandfather, my beautiful mama, the most beautiful mama in the history of the universe. Always stand, rise, and shine, the best person I ever met in my life. On my father's side, my father, former United States Air Force fighter pilot, chief mechanic. Always saying, develop your mind to its highest extent. My beautiful brother, I love my dad with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful brother, Todd, with that bombastic voice, sound like thunder and lightning. That's how to speak. Always saying, go forward. a Reparations reader. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful daughter, Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. Daisy, college graduate, 2 degrees with honors, and 3.5 years from a major university. Always trust God. She said at the very first interview for Big C Sports Podcast. And I just tell you, I love you with all I have, Daisy. Always trust God. No weapon formed against you will prosper. Isaiah 54:17. Our beautiful son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. College senior, very smart, educated, erudite young man, a good man. I love you, Malcolm. Malcolm helped me save trees. I used to always get newspapers to look up sports. And one day Malcolm said, Dad, why don't you just Google it? I've been Googling ever since, and I'm on 29 podcast platforms. One day Malcolm said, Dad, you want to see Big C Sports on TV? I said, sure. He said, pick up the remote, aim it at the TV, and say, play Big C Sports to see your show come up. That's before it was even on the air. And shortly after that, you can see it on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon and Fire TV. Malcolm, it could be anything. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Always trust God. Isaiah 54:17, that no weapon formed against you will prosper. And then Big C, with all that wealth of knowledge over the years, always saying you got to believe, you got to believe, you got to believe. Let's get ready. Come on, NBA, support reparations and rumble. You know you can do it. I love saying that. I want to pay homage to President Abraham Lincoln, and maybe President Biden can Google him, because he did something that should be done again. As governor from sea to shining sea are saying it, that now's the time. If not now, when? They all chant and sing it with me. Say reparations now, reparations forever. Come on, you cheer it louder at a basketball game. You cheer it louder when they said light the beam that's been turned off. You can cheer it, just say it. Say reparations now, reparations forever. Come on, say it like your heart, mind, body, and soul depends on it. The same way you want the vote. Say reparations now, reparations forever. I thank you, I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a super fantastic day.